Chapter 2, Part 4. Six, cosmic rays from Orion. Protons are the most abundant components of high-energy cosmic ray particles. T. Sanuki in 1999 reported energy ranges of 1 to 120 GeV as measured by the 1998 balloon flight of Best Spectrometer launched from Lynn Lake, Manitoba, Canada. Cosmic rays with energies of several billion electron volts GeV have higher energy than those from the sun. The Orion region is a dense area of about 2,000 very young stars with elevated X-ray emissions that scientists believe arise from the star's strong magnetic fields. NASA 2000. In chapter 64 of the Tibetan Recension, the deceased claims that he knows the depths and the composition of the blessed dead. He states that which is upon the shoulders of Orion is examined, being 1/12 strewing out of what is united as what one gives to another among them. This idea points to the molecular self-assembly, isotope creation, and more. Looking at the constellation Orion closely, we discover that Betelgeuse, a red supergiant at the right shoulder of Orion, is an ancient star approaching the end of its life cycle. Recently, the Harvard-Smithsonian Center of Astrophysics reported the first direct evidence in Betelgeuse pulsing chromosphere of streams of gas in opposite directions and velocities of 10,000 miles per hour. Like a human heart, Betelgeuse pulses, expelling gas from its surface out into space in one direction, while a second stream of gas falls in the star. Could this blow-off gas account for the Egyptian claim of 1/12 strewing out of Orion? Is this Orion's warrant an authorization of molecular self-assembly at the cusp? The union of the deceased with highly energetic protons and isotopes from a cosmic ray acceleration to Earth by protostellar winds in the Orion molecular complex is the theoretically impossible. The text states, I bring him the breeze of the north wind, and I am among the imperishable stars who are in you. However, the most convincing textual evidence for cosmic rays from Orion are the following passages. I find Orion standing in my path with his staff of rank in his hand. I accept it from him, and I will be God by means of it. Also, the deceased makes summons to Orion that he should come to me. In addition, the deceased asks Sirius to make my path ready, set up the stairway to the great plain, for you are my mother, and here is at the place whence Orion issues. Hu is the god of adorative utterance, suggesting justification for the deceased rank, path, and stairway from Orion. 7th, iron nuclei. In the energy spectrum of ultra-high energy cosmic rays, UHECR, are primary iron nuclei with trajectories influenced by the galactic magnetic field. Blasi in 2000 showed that the winds from young neutron stars are capable of galactic production of iron primaries that match the UHECR spectrum. In simulations, O'Neill in 2001 propagated iron nuclei through a model of the galactic magnetic field to determine galactic UHECR trajectories. They found that the simulations were sensitive to galactic field strength parameters. Also, they reasoned that a galactic wind similar to the solar wind can alter trajectory significantly. Research from On in 1999 and Harari in 2000 proposed high-energy particles from Virgo near Orion were distributed on Earth by a galactic wind.
You need to figure out what we...
Although astrophysicists are still investigating the exact source of UHECR, one effect is evident. Iron injected with energies -10 to the 20th degree, the 20th power, EV, will reach Earth after some diffusion through the galactic and halo magnetic fields. Olento in 1999. Oh yeah, that comes from Olento in 1999. Iron nuclei are present at the cusp. These nuclei may alter the magnetic orientation of atoms in the null magnetic field, skewing from their normal randomness in the energization or bonding process with the incoming solar energy and the electrons present. In iron metal, there is an interaction that can cause all the magnetic momentum to snap into the same direction. Electrons producing the magnetic moments are involved in a metallic binding, and the orientation of the electrons spin affects the binding energy of the metal. The deceased states, "I am the servitor of Ra who receives his iron," suggesting metallic binding. It is also interesting that the deceased claims he is one of the lords of the God's domain and desires a seat in the God's domain in the presence of the lords of the West. The use of the word domain may refer to the region of the uniform magnetization as modern physicists defined it. Also, the funerary texts repeat the deceased should move himself from his left side to his right side, indicating a left to right 180-degree orientation that suggests a parity change for a line magnetization. Eighth, power over the hurricane heavens. The deceased desires power over the winds of heaven, as if this privilege would save him from being netted by the Van Allen belts. Power over the winds could relate not only to the solar wind and its interactions with the Earth's geomagnetic field, but also to the interstellar, protostellar, and galactic cosmic winds. The deceased is the company of the south wind and is charged to run with the north wind. This suggests the south wind is pushing the deceased to the polar north, where he runs with the north wind, where he grasps Orion or meets the sun god and the crew, a composite of high energy solar and accelerated cosmic ray particles surrounded by a super halo of electrons. The winds are favorable to the deceased, and the north wind is the sweet breath of life. Fair is the north wind which goes forth from Atum to your nostrils. Also, the text CT 75 through 81 emphasizes the importance of becoming Shu. I am Shu, who draws the air into the presence of the sunshine in the limits of the sky to the limits of the earth. Shu is the member of the Heliopolitan Aned, the oldest Egyptian deities. The creator god Atum sneezed and spat Shu out along with Tefnut and his sister wife. As a cosmic deity and creative life force, Shu was the god of life manifest in the wind, air, light, and water. He was often perceived as a column of air. Shu meant dryness or emptiness, not as a void, but as a space for potential activity. This description of Shu supports the importance of the creativity potential of cosmic or energetic particles at the polar cusp. Actually, the idea of Atum sneezing or spitting Shu out could be compared to a supernova explosion. It takes seconds for a star to blow apart according to the simulations of supercomputers. First, the iron core collapses, producing intense heat and high energy gamma ray photons that break apart iron nuclei. The core electrons are forced to combine with protons to produce neutrons, releasing a flood of neutrinos. When the neutron-rich material of the core reaches nuclear density, it stiffens, stopping the collapse of the core so abruptly that it rebounds, rushing back out in a process called core bounce. Actually, you could call this a sneeze. During core bounce, the star's unsupported layers are rushing inward, slamming into the outward bound neutrinos in the rebounding core, which thrust the layers outward, reversing their course. This large mass of matter moving to the star's surface forms a shock wave, blasting the star's outer layers away from the core in a mighty sneeze or ejection. A supernova is born as the star's outer layers are blasted into space by the shock wave. Fusion occurs, creating many elements that are found on Earth and in our bodies. Along with this is the Tibetan recension in verse 99. The wind talks. Tell me my name, says the wind, since you are carried by thereby. The deceased responds, North wind, when you went from a tomb to the nose of the foremost of the Westerner is your name. The foremost of the Westerner is Osiris, or the deceased, who also states, I am the soul of Shu, is in the flame of the fiery blast a tomb kindled. I am the soul of Shu, the God invisible of shape. CT 75. Evidently, the polar cusp is a unique location where the deceased must travel from the west to the east, avoiding storms and acceleration into the Van Allen belt, while merging with the terrifying sun god as an enriched composite of the elements from the solar wind and the cosmic rays. In this way, the deceased might be able to control the winds of eternity, so he can become the soul of Shu, which is the flame of the fiery blast which a tomb kindled with his own hand. In this way, his vision is clear in the house of darkness, which is set in the interests of the sky without seeing a storm. TR 160. All right, that's it for chapter 2. We're going to start chapter 3 sometime between the night and tomorrow. Peace. Shalom. Ciao, Bella.